In the days and months following George Floyd's death, protesters were met with chemical irritants, rubber bullets, and hand-to-hand combat from law enforcement in dozens of cities around the country. More than 14,000 people were arrested. Some of that is very different from what we saw yesterday in the nation's capital.
In D.C., explosives were found, weapons were seized, and officers were injured. A rioter was also shot and killed by police, but many others were escorted from the Capitol building, some not without handcuffs. Maury Glover joining us now with more on how the difference in law enforcement reaction is being viewed both here and across the country.
Maury, some strong feelings being expressed about fairness in this situation.
That's right. From the president-elect to local community activists, some see drastic differences in the way police handled those two situations.
When pro-Trump supporters stormed the Capitol in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday, some politicians and activists noticed a double standard in how police responded to the rioters compared to Black Lives Matter protesters last summer.
No one can tell me that if had been a group of Black Lives Matter protesting yesterday, they wouldn't have been treated very, very differently than the mob of thugs that stormed the Capitol.
President-elect Joe Biden pointed to images of the D.C. National Guard armed and wearing camouflage uniforms guarding the Lincoln Memorial during a peaceful BLM protest after the death of George Floyd in early June, while rioters were already inside the congressional chambers before the National Guard was activated on Wednesday. Even though Capitol Police had advance notice of the protests President Trump was calling for.
You saw white men chasing officers up a steps, right? And they weren't shooting them.
Former Minneapolis NAACP President Leslie Redmond says she was tear-gassed while protesting peacefully for Floyd in Minneapolis, and arrested while doing the same thing for Breonna Taylor in Louisville last summer. Even though one woman was shot and killed by police, 3 others died from medical emergencies, and police made dozens of arrests at the Capitol, Redmond says the vast majority of the mostly white mob was able to leave safely.
These people were not protesting a murder or death of someone. They were upset about losing races, political races. We are fighting for our life, and these people are fighting to be patriots, quote unquote.
Anybody who's black or brown, the first thing that they tweeted was, where were they? Where are the police now?
Community member Jesse Ross sees the chaos at the Capitol as an extreme example of white privilege. And he says until the country recognizes its racial inequities, it will never be free of them.
We can talk about the problems, we can talk about what happened yesterday, all we want. But until we get to the solutions, we're just going to stay in the same place.
Now, as Sarah mentioned, the FBI is now looking for some of those people involved in the unrest, and more arrests could be on the way. In Minneapolis, Maury Glover, Fox 9 News.